Welcome back to RPG Archive. Today we've got an awesome show. We're doing Knights of the Old Republic. I've got, of course, my good friend JD, his beautiful cat in the background, blue collar.
She's gonna throw up. I thought she was doing.
She's gonna puke.
She's gonna puke. Oh no, she's just.
Man, Knights of the Republic. This game came out back when we were in our heyday of gaming, young kids, excited to take on the world.
The world at our feet.
Awesome game. I can't wait to talk about it. We played it for the first time, at least me for the first time in a while. I don't know. How long ago had you played it before this last go round?
Like 2 years ago.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little more fresh for you.
Yeah.
This was an eye-opening experience for me. I hadn't played it in over a decade, so it was fun to go back and give it a spin. See how the gaming has changed, for better or for worse. This is super exciting. Make sure that if you're listening, let's do the plugs. You subscribe to YouTube, you like, comment, etc. Make sure you check it out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I think it's on there now, etc. Okay, cool. Got that good stuff out of the way. JD, are you ready to tackle Knights of the Old Republic?
I'm ready to tackle it for the 5-yard penalty.
Yeah.
Football.
Let's talk about some history first. We got BioWare in the 2000s. I want to tackle what they looked like. Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Amn, was released in 2000, 2 years after the release of Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate 2 sold 2 million copies, matching the sales of the first game in the series. Did you ever play Baldur's Gate?
No, but friend of the show did. Rosie. I know that was his thing. We would argue about that or Diablo and whatnot. Obviously, Diablo's superior because they're the exact same game. Duh.
How do you even argue which one of those is better? They're like completely different games.
Hey, man. Moving on.
All right. However, the success of both Baldur's Gate 2 and MDK 2 was not enough to stabilize Interplay financially. Subsequently, BioWare began to work with Infogrames, which was later renamed to Atari. Neverwinter Nights was originally to be published on Interplay, but the company lost the license of the game to Atari and part of their Dungeons & Dragons license to BioWare. After selling their D&D license to Atari, BioWare developed Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and Jade Empire. It had published relationships with Interplay Entertainment, Infogrames, under its new name Atari, LucasArts, and Microsoft. So that's a little bit of where BioWare was at. What is your experience with BioWare, like prior to Knights of the Old Republic?
Well, I've played all those games. So
okay. Cool.
But I love Jade Empire. I had a lot of fun playing that game. I felt a little bit parts of it felt a little empty. But overall, I had a lot of fun with that game. I remember I had the Blockbuster Game Pass, and I rented that game on more than one occasion. So I'd rent it, beat it if I was feeling up for it, and then switch it out.
And you said you did play Neverwinter Nights?
Neverwinter Nights 1 and 3. When we played Neverwinter Nights 1, I had no idea what D&D rules were. So I was fucked. I was playing that game and another game called Pool of Radiance at the time, which is also a PC game that used D&D rules. And I remember we had Pool of Radiance, and I was like, I can't even get through the first fucking dungeon. And you have to make your characters. So my characters are, shit. And then I was like, oh, fuck. And then I remember switching to Neverwinter Nights. I had hyped myself out. I was like, oh, Neverwinter Nights, this shit's going to be fucking awesome. And then I jump over to Neverwinter Nights. I'm like, it's the same shit. I had no idea because I wanted to make a magic swordsman, and you can't do that in these games. So you're not a jack of all trades. Specialize in something, expect the game to play out that way, and just deal with it. And I only had one companion, and I remember just being like at wit's end, like, man, I can't fucking beat this shit. And then Neverwinter Nights 3 was well after when I understood what that shit was. And I had that on PC as well, and it was so much more of an easy experience to play through.
I tried Neverwinter Nights, and I just did not get it. And this was before I knew how to play D&D as well.
Yeah.
So I just didn't get it. I like the idea that you could build your own stuff in it, but obviously without knowing any rules that go along with it, it's kind of difficult. So I just never got into it.
Yeah, it's rough.
Jade Empire always pushed me away just because I'm not interested in the like culture part of it.
Yeah,
that's the same. It's a shame about that because I was talking to Teddy from and Alex from the Button Mappers podcast that I do over there. Make sure you check them out. Like, subscribe to. I was talking to them about that, and we were talking about Okami, and it's just like I really want to like that game. I'm not into the setting or like the culture and the cultural influences there. So Jade Empire, like I understand it's like I'm sure it's like Knights of the Old Republic, but like better. I'm assuming, like gameplay wise.
It's an action RPG, so you do attack whenever you want to. But there's a lot of RPG elements within it, to where it's not like you could just fight anybody. And you learn different like martial arts styles. It's more of the, if I remember correctly, the Chinese sort of folklore hero side, your Wong Fei Hung sort of thing, where it's like he's a really strong martial artist and whatnot. You go to like these, this underground school where they're teaching evil people stuff and all that. But it's super cool. It's a blast. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, no, it is.
Did that ever get released on PC?
It's a good question. I want to say yes, but I could be wrong.
That might be worth it at some point. I know I could probably play it on not Game Pass, but on Xbox at some point. So if I have to, but maybe that'd be a game we play sometime.
Yeah, Microsoft Windows. Yep. It's also on Android.
Oh, sick! Even better.
Yeah, so
pump that out on my phone.
Yeah, I could get it on my. I remember because I could get it on my my Kindle or whatever, Fire, whatever it's called.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and it was like either I get that or I get Chrono Trigger, and I got Chrono Trigger. So it is.
Well, I'll just say that I think you chose correctly. But side story, I found out that I could play Chrono Trigger on my Android with the Razer Kishi. What a game changer! So you don't have to use the touch controls on Android.
Oh god, that's such a pain.
It's super. Anyway, that's phenomenal. But okay. So let's talk a little bit. I did want to ask you. So this is a D&D game, and I know you've shared with me some of your experiences actually playing D&D. But could you share with me your history with D&D and what you think of it as a game, or I guess it's more of like as a, I don't know. Would you even call it a game at this point? It's just like a culture almost.
Are you just wanting me to shit on games, man? No, okay, so I think D&D caught me at a time when I was already initiated to the world of fantasy. I don't click with D&D. I did a campaign with, it was a one-shot, not a campaign really. I did a one-shot with a few friends, a friend of mine from work. It was me, her husband, and a couple other people. And it was like half good, half bad. Half of the group was really cool. Like my friend and her husband and one of the other guys. And the other half was just like, one guy didn't even seem like he wanted to play. And I was like, dude, this is my first time. You're ruining this.
Killing my vibes, bro.
Yeah. I was like, dude, there goes my buzz. But I remember we drank a lot. They were all drunk. I am a bit of a tank for a few reasons. But I just remember like not really caring too much by the time we got to the end. Like we probably played for like, it was like 5 hours, maybe almost 6 or something like that. I don't remember.
That's so long. Yeah.
And I was just like, I wasn't invested. And I was like, if I could pour 5 hours into something and not get invested, then maybe it's not for me,
Well, that's something I always thought is that I don't think D&D or anything for that matter But I don't. But let's talk about D&D. I don't think D&D is for everybody. I just don't think. I don't think everybody needs to play D&D. There's like a weird obsession with that and with gaming in general. It's like, let's make this for everybody, and it's like it's just not. Like,
well, you maximize sales that way.
Yeah, right? You maximize sales that way, and that's great. But the product hurts for it. And D&D, you don't need to. If you want to play a game about like maximizing your stats and doing like a build and getting it and watching it grow and do all that, D&D is not the game for you. Which is funny because like you think all the numbers and stuff associated with it would make that great, but when you sit down and like you said, you're playing it for 5 hours. I mean, at the end of the day, the stats don't matter. It's the experience and the story and the gameplay that's driving it. It's the interactions with the other people. And I mean, I wouldn't play with you. I don't know what that situation was like. But if the people suck, if the people aren't there for it, it's not going to be a good time. And so if some people just, I've seen it with some people that continue to play, and I don't really understand why, because they're obsessed with the numbers and they're obsessed with like they could just go play an MMORPG. They could go play World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14. You'll get what you want out of that. You don't need to play D&D. So I don't understand that. But it is what it is, man. D&D ain't for everybody.
Yeah. It's I think that comes with anything, right? Mm-hmm. Like any sort of medium. But it's pretty much on display because D&D is so community based. Mm-hmm. That it's pretty much on display. And sometimes you just don't know what you're getting into when you sign up with a new group of people, or in my case, your first group of people.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm not trying to bash them. I'm just.
It didn't click for you.
It didn't click, and if it didn't click,
hey,
yeah.
At least you tried it, man. A lot of
but hey, it clicks on these games. Thank fuck for that. I mean, thank God for that. That's great.
Let's talk about Xbox a little bit. This game obviously came out on Xbox. We'll get to the release, but tell me about your experience with Xbox. And we're talking about up to 2003. Maybe you can talk about everything, but especially early on in the Xbox, was it just a Halo machine to you, or did you really dig into the Xbox library?
So back then, I actually lived on base when the Xbox came out. So I was on military base. And we would go to the BX all the time where they would have Halo up there. And at that point, I effectively beat Halo there. Because they would keep your saves. Yeah. Like they would not, nothing was reset. I mean, other kids would show up and play, but, you show up and then you're like, all right, get the fuck off. You gotta be the silent cartographer, and then, spend like 30, 40 minutes. There was no one kicking you off the console.
Yeah.
And then I forgot how I got my hands on it, but I did. I didn't steal it, but I got my own Xbox. And no, it was not. It absolutely was not. I actually, I remember my brother got it because Dead or Alive 3, we were huge Dead or Alive fans, and Dead or Alive 3 released exclusively on Xbox. And then Dead or Alive 4 was on Xbox 360. But Dead or Alive 3 was only on Xbox, and then Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate also only came to Xbox. We gotta have that. Yeah. So then it was a fighting game machine for us, actually. And then, obviously Halo was there. I didn't have Halo 1, and I didn't care because I beat it. And the only way you could play online was like that real backwards-y way, or was that Halo 2? It was one of those. And it was just like it was not even like real servers. It was like dedicated servers or something like that. You had to jerry-rig that shit. And then, obviously Halo 3 fixed that. But but it was mainly for that, for Dead or Alive, Jade Empire, both Knights of the Old Republic, although I played Knights of the Old Republic 2 before I played Knights of the Old Republic 1. So it was a bit regressive, but, you deal with it. I had and then I also got what I want to say was probably the most, I want to say the rarest game I own, which is Iron Phoenix. It was supposed to be an online multiplayer fighting game, but I didn't have online, so fighting computers all day.
Yeah.
But no, it was not. The long-winded way, or the short answer is no, it was not. It's mainly an RPG and fighting game for me, console for me.
Dude, through a weird series of extenuating circumstances, the Xbox was actually my first console in this generation, which is bizarre because it's the last one I would have wanted. Like, the first one I wanted was a PS2, but I had no way to get it. I was geared up to get a GameCube. In fact, I even got Super Smash Bros. Melee, like, for Christmas for my friends, because I'm like, by the way, I'm getting a GameCube. They're like, oh, okay, here you go. And I'm like, what other game am I going to get? That game was shit. And that was like when it was first coming out and everything.
Right.
And then I was not able to get that because my parents wouldn't let me.
Too much violence.
Yeah.
Look at all that gore.
And so, like, when I was, I think, it would have to be when I was a junior in high school. I was at a GameStop near, like, when I was working for a brief period of time there. Maybe a senior, whatever, in late in high school. And there was a used Xbox on sale at GameStop that I could actually afford. And I got, like, Ninja Gaiden with it. And I was like, oh, sick, I can finally get a console. And so I got it, and I loved it. Like, I was upset. I loved Ninja Gaiden. Never beat it because I'm fucking trash. But it was a great game. It was a really fun game. I got pretty far in it. And I was proud that I got that far because it's, like, cool. I was told it was a hard game, and I was like, well, at least I got somewhere with it. That's not bad.
That's one of my pride and joy games, so I hear you on that. It's good.
But I had fun with it. I had a good time. And then eventually branched off. It kind of became a Halo machine for me. It was like a Halo 2. I never had the first Halo, kind of like you, but I mean, when you have Halo 2, why would you go back to Halo 1? Fucking kill it. That game was amazing. And I just have all these great memories of playing with going to my friend's house and having other friends bring over their Xbox, and we do little LAN parties with Halo 2. Oh my god, just so much fun. So much fun. But Halo 2 is probably the biggest game. In fact, in retrospect, I think that's my favorite Xbox game. I used to say it was Knights of the Old Republic, but I think Halo 2 is probably my favorite Xbox game. I don't really know how you can beat Halo 2. That game was just like legendary and perfect. So I think that'd be my favorite one. But yeah, I have a warm spot for the original Xbox in my heart. Just for all
I still have mine. I told you that, right?
Really? You still have it?
Yeah, it's in the living room with all my. I have 2 controllers. I've got everything still. I mean, I think I have Halo 2. I think, but I think Matt gave it to me. But I'm pretty sure I still have Halo 2. Yeah.
Wow, that's
awesome. If we ever get into an argument, we could just settle.
Halo 2. I'll meet you at Zanzibar.
Let's go to Blood Gulch. Let's settle this.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about LucasArts, because they're the third little piece in this whole thing.
Lucas.
All right. It's called In the New Millennium. And I'm getting most of this off Wikipedia, so if you're ever interested. In 2000, Simon Jeffrey became the LucasArts president. He was president of LucasArts until 2003, and some successful Star Wars games released during his management, like Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, Rogue Squadron 2, Knights of the Old Republic, Jedi Academy, and Star Wars Galaxies. Development of some other Star Wars games began during his management, like Republic Commando and Battlefront. In 2002, LucasArts recognized that the over-reliance on Star Wars was reducing the quality of its output, and announced that future releases would be at least 50% non-Star Wars related.
That's so weird.
However, many of the original titles were either unsuccessful or even canceled before release. And since then, LucasArts, again, had mainly Star Wars titles in production. So they came in with the intent of doing 50-50, but none of the other ones ever worked out. So they just always released Star Wars content. Also in 2002, LucasArts released a compilation CD filled with music from their past games. The album is titled The Best of LucasArts Original Soundtracks and features music from the Monkey Island series, Grim Fandango, Outlaws, and The Dig. I don't think I played any of those games.
That's strange, yeah.
2003 saw the fruitful collaboration of LucasArts and BioWare on the well-received role-playing game Knights of the Old Republic, combining modern 3D graphics and high-quality storytelling and a sophisticated role-playing game system. This game reinvigorated the Star Wars franchise. Its 2004 sequel, Knights of the Republic 2, The Sith Lords, continued in the same vein, but LucasArts was criticized for forcing the developer Obsidian Entertainment to release the sequel unfinished. We can talk. We're gonna full disclosure. We're gonna be doing 2 after this, so let's not go deep into that. Yeah. There's actually a lot more fun news with 2 than there is with 1. So that'll be fun. A lot more controversy. Yeah, that'll be fun to explore that. I was telling you before this, I tried to look for controversy around this game. I could not find any. There was just no drama around this game at all.
It's a good problem to have, right?
I mean, it seemed like there was a pretty vicious crunch cycle, but I think especially at the time, that was pretty much
common,
par for the course. Yeah. Did you ever play like LucasArts games? And what's your favorite LucasArts game that you've played? It is probably Knights of the Old Republic 2.
No, it's not. But yes, I have a very storied history. I actually pulled it up the list so I could go like, when is the exact first LucasArts game I've ever played? It's actually Star Wars Masters of Terras Kasai, the fighting game.
That is your favorite LucasArts game?
No, that's my first.
Oh, that's your first. Okay, I was going to say, whoa.
It was on a demo disc. It was on a demo disc, and I was like, what the fuck? And it was just blowing my fucking mind.
It's a pretty game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty shitty fighter, too.
Yeah, it's not a good game, but it's very pretty.
Tell me Han Solo is able to fight Luke and with his lightsaber.
Chucking grenades, right? Didn't he chuck grenades at people?
All kinds of stupid shit. Yeah. I'm like, the fuck? I played the Phantom Menace, that had the esoteric, that perspective, the top-down sort of perspective. It was
isometric.
Isometric, thank you. And it had it was a platformer in it too. It was so hard to jump in that game. It's fucking rough. Everyone knows the Pod Racer game, Star Wars Episode Pod Racer or whatever.
Oh, but there's basically 2 Phantom Menace games, right?
Well, the Game Boy one and the one on PC.
No, on PS1.
Oh,
there's the actual Phantom Menace game. And then there's the real one, which is Jedi Power Battle.
I was going to get there. Jedi Power Battles might be my favorite. I love Jedi Power Battles. That game was so much fun. It had an arcade feel to it.
Yeah.
Which is just so weird a direction, but I still loved it. Skipping forward a little bit, Battlefront. I played Battlefront. I think you did, right?
Not really.
Not really. Okay. Well, I played Battlefront. Revenge of the Sith. Episode 3 was actually a really cool game. The fighting aspect to it was really neat. But no, my favorite Star Wars game is, or LucasArts game is Jedi Outcast.
Oh,
because
right.
The lightsaber, that was the first time I'd seen that shit. I put countless hours into that game. By association, Jedi Academy. Like everyone's like, oh, what about Dark Forces and all that stuff? They didn't do a good job with the lightsabers. It wasn't until Jedi Outcast that they actually did that.
I think our friend Sean would agree with you. He loved that series.
It was such a good game. I mean, I do have a soft spot for Republic Commando, which they re-released, which is a very good game. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it is Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast.
Okay.
So what about you?
Well, I was playing freaking Star Wars games back in the Super Nintendo. I loved all
Super Star Wars.
Oh my god, those games had me, man. And I tried to play them recently, and they're not bad games, but they're hard. Mm-hmm. Those games are not easy, and so I'm pretty impressed that I beat those as a kid. Although I didn't do it easily, certainly not without drama. But those games are really pretty looking, and really arcadey, and really difficult. So.
Yeah,
fun shit. I have a very soft spot for Empire Strikes Back, but Return of the Jedi is really good too. And the first one is good, not as good as the second two. But Empire Strikes Back, just because it's also my favorite movie ever, they captured all the little pieces of it so well. It's just really a great game. Hard hard as balls. That game has like when you destroy the machines, they explode. Like all of them do. So it just makes it so difficult to get through that game. Because you always have to like turn back and run like all these dodge things. So pain in the ass to play now, but it's still good. I think my favorite game by them is probably Knights of the Old Republic, though. Until I played 2, because Secret I never actually finished 2. So when we plow through it, that'll be my first full playthrough. So I'm excited for that.
It is. I think you'll find some good elements there, but you probably won't like it as much. If I know anything about you, I don't think you're going to say.
Why won't I like it as much?
Because I think it's a first come first serve with you on this one. You're going to be like, yeah, but the first one did it better. That's what I think.
Okay, but we'll see what happens.
The gameplay is better, but is what it is.
I hope so. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, let's talk about Star Wars in general. What's your history with Star Wars? I don't know if we've ever really spoken specifically about Star Wars together, you and
I. Maybe. I remember growing up mainly watching Empire Strikes Back. That was actually my first Star Wars movie that I ever saw. I thought it was sick. I did not know there were more. and I did not put together the pieces that I was coming into a story that was already being told. So my dad really loved Star Wars, and we had Empire Strikes Back on VHS. And it wasn't until later that I believe I was in Wisconsin when I first found it. In like Wisconsin, I was like 6 to 9 years old. And he goes, hey, no, it was in Hawaii. So I was younger. And I was like, hey, let's watch some Star Wars. And I remember just being like, oh, that's super cool. I wonder what happens next. I wish they'd make a sequel. And then like eventually I saw A New Hope, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. So like
something don't add up.
And then finally I finally saw Return of the Jedi, and I remember seeing it the first time and then finished watching it. And like, it's like really dramatic. I mean, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Star Wars, but at the end when they show Anakin, it was it's just an old guy.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the fuck's that?
Yeah.
As a kid, I was like, I don't fucking know what this is. And I was just like, whatever. And then, the what's called the episodes 1 through 3 was coming out. I remember seeing. We didn't go to the theaters to see the first one. I went and I saw the second one with my dad. I remember the third one I saw with a bunch. We made an event out of it, which is what I remember. Regardless of what you may think about the movie, one of the best times I ever had at a movie theater was watching Revenge of the Sith, because it was at the Harkins, actually, that's right by me. Krispy Kreme was still there, and I remember we had waited. We had to sit down because there were so many people. We were sitting down in line waiting to get chauffeured in, and that's like all they were showing was like Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And when we finally got in, we were up in the nosebleeds, up in the way back. But it was me and like 7 other people. And that's like the most people at the time I'd ever gone to a movie with.
Yeah.
To see at the same time, and we made an event out of it. It was so much fun. Afterwards, we had Krispy Kremes, and we were just talking about, oh man, was that crazy? all that stuff. I believe I saw it with Troy, too, and Troy was just, Troy's an action guy, so he's like, oh man, that last fight, he's like, that was some sick shit, and I was like, yeah, man, but, what about the rest of the movie? But it's all good. But yeah, I that's sort of like my history. I never really went back and was like, I didn't like them. I know you had your reservations, but like back then I just watched to watch. I didn't really, if I just had fun, I just considered it a good movie. So I liked the prequels, because I was like, oh, this is cool. Who cares? Whatever, well, except for 1. I thought 1 was really boring until the end.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, the pod racing thing was cool. And I remember really liking the fact, because I watched other media where they would have like really cool scenes with no music. So like when there was no music during the pod racing parts, I was hooked. I thought that was really cool. I thought the opening scene was cool. And then I thought the Duel of Fates The final fight was cool. That's really it. I was sort of actiony back then. I was younger, you know, so I didn't really care. I didn't know what the fuck they were fighting about. I was just like, oh, more droids, take them out. That was it, dude. And then my dad's like, you want the action figures? You bet. Sign me up. Give me the Legos. I had the you know when they get to Naboo and they go underwater?
Yeah.
That ship, I had that Lego ship, and I had like parts of the underwater Gungans, right?
Mm-hmm.
The underwater Gungan Empire stuff that you had to build with Lego. So I am most familiar with that part of the story of the first one because I just built it with Legos. It took fucking forever, but I did it.
Dude,
But
I was
what about you?
obsessed with Star Wars. My poor parents, just obsessed with it. Like it was the only I lived it, dreamed it, breathed it. Had all these action figures that I bought, mostly used from like a local used game toy store, which was freaking awesome. It's called Empire of Toys. I think they moved locations, but it's it was my life, Star Wars, and my childhood was a history of that, and I think a lot of kids are like that. We're just because like, you don't have anything else going on, so it's like it was that, then it was Pokemon, like it just like became obsessed with that. But yeah, Star Wars. I was so obsessed with Star Wars, it was ridiculous. And when that's what I tell people when they say, and we have different opinions on this one, but when people will say like you don't like the new or the prequels because it wasn't the originals, like because you were too old for it. I completely disagree because I was the perfect age to like Star Wars Episode 1. I mean, that was leading into my teens. Like, that's when you like shit. And I was like, I liked Star Wars Episode 1. I knew something was weird with it because of the politics. Like, that part, I was like, what is going on? And why aren't they kicking each other's asses? Like, this is weird. But everything else I loved. And then Episode 2, when that one came out, I was like, something's wrong. Like this series, something's weird here. Like there's some cool visuals and stuff, but nothing makes sense. And nothing's grabbing me. And then 3 came out, and I liked 3 more than 2. But I ended up seeing 3 again in the theaters, and I fell asleep. Like I was just so bored with it. So the prequels did not do it for me. 1, I actually liked the most, except 3, the only reason I like 3 maybe more is because of the Anakin stuff, obviously, at the end. 2, I mean, we openly laughed at in the movie theater and this was before
with Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda taking out the lightsaber and shit. Well, like, what?
You know, that was in trailers. Like, you're finally going to see Yoda in action, and it's like, oh, this is going to be sick. And then you see it, and you're like, what?
I didn't know. I
just wish it was a Force like battle or something like that. I wish they just kept it at that. He didn't have to take out his lightsaber. He didn't need to. It's too acrobatic. He's flipping all over the place. Get the fuck out of here.
Just bad. And then let's not even talk about the sequel trilogy. I think Disney's trying to override it anyway. So disaster.
Go nuts.
But Star Wars itself is phenomenal. I always loved the original trilogy, and to see a game that maybe even surpasses it in some ways in the story element is pretty impressive. So
yeah,
definitely. I think we can both agree that Knights of the Old Republic, if they went the movie route with this, could easily be a better movie than the prequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy.
I think it could rival the original.
Yeah. If not that, yeah.
But it's like it's common knowledge at this point what happened. So it's kind of like
to us,
to a lot of gamers though, right? It was a very good selling game. Yeah.
But if they made a movie, they could bring it to non-gamers. Maybe they could have a good time with it.
I just don't want, that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio that's pointing at the screen. I can imagine all kinds of gamers just going like, "That's the point. That's the point where you find out." But it's still cool. I mean, if they did it, honestly, it's probably a better bet to preserve that story than it is to try and change it for the sake of being different, because you're probably going to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Just let it happen. But
all right, let's talk about the game itself. You ready?
Yeah.
Releases in 2003. It both on PC and console, but console came out first. PC came out, I think, in November of that year. The console game came out in July. Let's talk about the sales. Total sales of the games. Xbox and computer releases surpassed 2 million copies by February 2005 and 2.5 million by May, and reached nearly 3 million by March 2006. As of 2007, Knights of the Old Republic had sold 3.2 million units. So doing pretty good.
For perspective, like games don't, if games sell like that, I mean, Resident Evil 8 sold 2 million, right?
There you go.
But this is probably the peak of its sales when it's just coming out. You know, It's not like it's going to continue to sell great. It's going to be on the downward thing. This thing is continuously selling well.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to see.
That's intense, man. And that was like I bet you a lot of that was word of mouth, because that's how I learned about it. There were a couple Star Wars games on the Xbox, and you just kind of learned to avoid them because they're just kind of crap. I think there's like an Obi-Wan game that came out on launch, and just like
Star Wars Obi-Wan.
Just don't even bother with that shit.
Not good.
But this game came out, and my friend was like, by the way, Knights of the Old Republic, you got to play that. I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, it's fucking Star Wars, and it's an RPG. And you're like, whoa, hold on.
Wait a minute. You know what's interesting? Yeah. That's sort of the story on how I ended up getting Star Wars. I was in my web publishing class. I remember this guy. His name was Matt. Huge, like, buff dude. You would not think likes games at all, but all he would talk about is games. And he was a huge fan of Star Wars and like anime and all that shit. And he was the guy that told me, he's like, man, dude, if you ever get a chance, you got to get Star Wars: The Old Republic. And I was just like, oh, man, this sounds great. And I remember saving up my lunch money because I just wouldn't eat lunch. My mom would give me like $20, and she's like,
I fucking did the exact same.
Yeah. You're like, I don't need it. I'm going to put it towards something else. And I remember I went to the store, and the first Knights of the Old Republic was unavailable. And I was like, I'll just get the second one. And I got the second one instead of the first one.
Oh.
So what happened was I played through it, and I guess I didn't make my intentions clear to Matt about which one I was playing, and he spoiled the first one for me.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I played it knowing full well what happened, but I still loved it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's a letdown, but whatever.
It happens.
It's still a good game regardless. But
it is still a good game. I bought it shortly after anyway. Nice. After I beat the second one, it was like a month later or something like that. You know, had to go a couple of weeks. And then I went ahead and I bought it, and then I was just like, yeah, fucking great game.
I've got some reviews here pulled up. Game Rankings, the aggregator, I guess. On Xbox, it got a 94%, PC 93%, Metacritic, Xbox is 94 out of 100, PC is 93 out of 100, iOS is 88 out of 100. I've actually played the Android version, at least a little bit of it, and it's pretty damn good. So if that's the way you got to play it, you're not missing out. It's a good game. I'm all about mobile gaming, by the way. Call me a loser. That's just my thing. CVG, I don't know what that is, but gave it a 9 out of 10. Eurogamer gave it 9 out of 10. Game Informer, 9.5 out of 10. GamePro, 4.5 out of 5. GameSpot, 9.1 out of 10. It's funny thinking that they existed back then, but I guess they did. GameSpy gave it a 5 out of 5. Games Radar, 10 out of 10. IGN, 9.5 out of 10. Maybe they finished it. I'm not sure. Touch Arcade gave it a 5, and that was for iOS.
Who does that? Who takes off a half a point?
It wasn't perfect.
You and Game Informer could suck a dick. Whatever.
What about GameSpot's 9.1 out of 10?
Okay, that's worse.
Can we talk about that? Like 9.1. How did they get the 0.1? I want to know what they did that got them the 0.1.
Had a hard time in Manon. Got upset with the way the fucking court case went. Like, what the fuck?
Jesus.
Yeah, when I was on Korriban, I didn't really like that I could only do dark side choices, or that I had to kill everyone. Fuck off. You're an idiot. I actually want to pull out those reviews.
I want to read. I just want to read their. I want to ask the question: how did you get to the 0.1? Like, tell me what on your rubric Got that .1 on that score.
Right.
Jesus. Knights of the Old Republic received universal acclaim according to review aggregator Metacritic and won numerous awards, including Game Developers Choice Awards 2004 Game of the Year. They gave it 2004, I guess, because it came out late or the PC version came out late in 2003. I don't really understand why it's 2004. BAFTA Games Awards, Best Xbox Game of the Year, and Interactive Achievement Awards for Best Console RPG and Best Computer RPG. GameSpot named it the Best Xbox Game of July 2003 and Best Computer Game of November 2003.
Of July 2003? Yeah, but as soon as we get to August, there's a new champ in town.
It's that weird card game. I don't know. GameSpot named it the Best Xbox Game of July 2003. What a packed month that must have been. Jesus, you could like narrow it down like that.
God,
how stupid is that? Okay, Knights of the Republic has seen success as the game of the year from many sources, including IGN, Computer Gaming World, PC Gamer, GMR, which I guess is Gamer, the Game Developers Choice Awards, Xbox Magazine, and G4. Computer Games Magazine named it the best computer game of 2003, there you go, and presented it with awards for Best Original Music and Best Writing. I guess it was original music, but I don't know if I would give it that award. It's kind of just Star Wars music. The editors wrote, the elegance and accessibility that BioWare made part and parcel of this game should be the future standard for this genre. According to the review aggregator Metacritic, the PC version received an average score of 93 based on 33 reviews. In total, the game has won over 40 Game of the Year awards from various publications. Not as good as The Last of Us, apparently. Interactive Achievement Awards awarded it for Best Story and Best Character Development. Yeah, it goes on like this, but it just received a shit ton of Game of the Year kind of awards. Do you remember it getting these kinds of awards? Or were you even paying attention to this stuff at this time?
I wasn't paying attention.
I've never seen an episode of G4. So, yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
They weren't even G4. I don't think they were G4 in 2003. I don't know. I forget. I don't know if they were Tech TV then. They weren't ZD TV at that point. I think they were Tech TV. Okay. Before because G4, I believe, was like, I think that was like 2005 or 2006 or something. But maybe I'm wrong.
How about this for high praise? In 2010, which I don't agree with this, by the way, but in 2010, IGN placed the game at number 3 on its best games of the decade, 2000 to 2009, beaten by Shadow of the Colossus and Half-Life 2. I don't know that I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with any of those games.
Of the decade?
Of the decade.
I think my bias comes in at that point for some of those games. Because I would put Gears came out in 2000. I put Gears in the top 10 because it revolutionized a lot of how third-person shooters are played. I put Halo in there. I put personal bias. I put Metal Gear Solid 3 in there. Issues B.
How do you not put Grand Theft Auto San Andreas in there?
That's another one. Yeah.
Shadow of the Colossus, I might have the most umbrage with. As much as I think that's a great game, I don't know if I'd put that on a best games of the decade list. Like, how much influence did the gaming world get from Shadow of the Colossus? I don't think
it was sort of a late bloomer, wasn't it? It was a late bloomer.
Well, yeah, and like, but there's no games, like, you don't take any of those mechanics and like apply it.
Yeah,
like, it's just a good game. Like, that's it. Like, some of the games you mentioned and stuff, like, they're like revolutionized that.
They're doing something with the genre.
Yeah. Like Halo 2, like that is how we make a first-person shooter now. Like, it's San Andreas, like, that's how you do questing in a really good open world game. Like, KOTOR, we're going to talk about the legacy of KOTOR, but huge. Half-Life 2 was like a huge PC game that inspired mods that still get played today.
Yeah.
Where's Shadow of the
Counter-Strike.
Colossus on that? I just don't see that.
I don't know, man. They can they can do what they want, I guess.
Clearly. Here's an interesting one. At the 2004 Game Developers Choice Awards, HK47 won the category of Original Game Character of the Year. Bam.
Hmm.
You like HK? I guess not. I thought you were a big HK fan.
No, not really. I don't hate him, but it's like, I don't know, man. It's kind of like, I think other characters have done it better. And if we're going off of the same decade, I just realized. Let me check before I say anything. Yeah, Dragon Age Origins is in 2009. And if we're talking about a more pivotal game than Shadow of the Colossus, I would put Dragon Age Origins on there because that also got just a ton of Game of the Year awards. But in that same vein, if I look at HK47, I see Alistair, who I think is a better written character. But HK is just more of like, isn't it funny? He's a murder droid, but he makes jokes. I guess. I don't really care. I don't know.
I love the way he's written, but I don't know if he's really the greatest character.
Yeah, like most original, like that. So many characters are original characters. What do you mean when you say that? Like, who else is in the running is really what I'm asking. Like,
I guess we'd have to figure that out, but it must have been a slow year if like a generic robot. You know, because that's almost like a cliche now, right? Is like the robot is the witty character. And it's like maybe this started that cliche or something. I don't know, but it seems boring now when you think about it. But
it is what it is.
Maybe it was new back then.
It is what it is.
Ready to talk about the game itself?
Let's get into it.
All right, let's discuss the setting. Knights of the Old Republic takes place approximately 4,000 years before the rise of the Galactic Empire. So that's the Star Wars that we're familiar with the movies, and covers the era following the conclusion of the Star Wars Tales of the Jedi comics during the early years of the Galactic Republic. Are you familiar with Tales of the Jedi? I've never heard of that before.
No, but I'm probably familiar with what they cover because I did wiki the fuck out of. There were days when I would just wiki the hell out of the extended universe just because I wanted to know more about it before it was all like canceled.
Yeah, thanks. Disney.
I wasted my time is what I'm trying to say, but I paid a lot of attention to that stuff. I was really into it. So yeah, I'm familiar with what happened leading up to it.
The backstory of the game involves the Mandalorian warrior society invading the Republic in a pan-galactic conflict known as the Mandalorian Wars, essentially to test their prowess. Okay. The Jedi were hesitant to get involved, but a pair of renegade Jedi Knights, Revan and Malak, led a group to war anyway, leading the Republic to victory. Afterward, Revan and Malak disappeared into the unknown regions, returning a year later with a Sith armada and launching an invasion against the Republic themselves. Malak, Revan's apprentice, eventually succeeded his former master as Dark Lord of the Sith after Revan was seemingly killed in an ambush by the Jedi. Malak's aggression has left the Jedi scattered and vulnerable. Many Jedi Knights have fallen in battle, and others have sworn allegiance to Malak. So that's where we are within the story of Star Wars. God, there's a lot of weird stuff to cover here. Mandalorian warriors, Jedi Knight. Mandalorians certainly are more popular now than they ever were, huh?
So Mandalorians were popular to me in KOTOR 2, because of the Mandalore himself, which is a character. I'm not going to say more than that. Okay. And it's just really, it was really cool to have like that sort of like warrior race where they were incredibly respectful to like Revan, who just handed them their own asses and was like, "Oh, this guy's fucking crazy." He's crazier than the craziest Mandalorians, man. This guy, this Jedi earned his stripes effectively,
Yeah.
which is cool. I never felt like I didn't actually make that connection that the bounty hunters were Mandalorians or whatever until like I guess much later. That was the inspiration, like Boba Fett and Jango Fett and all that stuff. I was like, that's cool. But
Well, do you think that was how it was designed, or do you think that just came after?
what do you mean?
Like, do you think George Lucas in making Empire Strikes Back was like, we got this character Boba Fett, and they're like, what's his backstory? Well, I guess I got to write about the Mandalorian Wars and all this stuff.
No, I don't even think he wrote about the Mandalorian Wars. I think that was one of his millions of authors that were just like, make some shit. All right.
Well, that's the thing is, realistically, you got to think that the whole concept of the Mandalorians has to come because somebody was like, that Boba Fett guy is pretty fucking badass, huh? Or do you think they're tied together, Boba Fett and the Mandalorians, like from the beginning?
Oh yeah. Oh no, from the beginning, no.
Mm.
It's an after the fact thing, and I want to say it's like a KOTOR 2 thing more than it is KOTOR 1, in my opinion.
That because, it ties back to Boba Fett?
Well, like that they're doing that because when you have the Mandalore on your team in KOTOR 2, because it is a playable character, the Mandalore is it's very similar to how Boba Fett, Jango Fett look.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's something I'm missing there. I feel like there's a more obvious reason as to why they're connected, but like maybe there's a bloodline thing or something like that. But they're just clones, so it's like, all right, is it? But isn't it? Isn't he a Mandalorian? The original clone of
supposedly, like Jango Fett was a Mandalorian. Yeah.
So there we go, right? Like that's the draw of it, but like bringing it back, I think they just wanted to stay
can we
within
never
the realm.
bring up episode 2 again, please, in this podcast? Because you also basically just said that every stormtrooper is a Mandalorian as well, and that just makes my brain hurt because they suck.
I didn't tell this. Yeah, right. I didn't tell the story, but yeah, it's interesting because, like, to me, I feel like they were staying in the realm of what makes sense. So like, hey, we have this pre-existing sort of race, class of hero or class of warrior, whatever the case is. Why don't we just make 1 million of them? And then these guys are just, imagine instead of 5, bounty hunters, you have, or guys that are skilled to be bounty hunters, you have, thousands of them. And these guys are like jumping from like Canderous Ordo.
Yeah.
When he talks about like one of his things and how he had to pretty much jump out of an aircraft to land on this planet that they were invading. Like talks about being scared, but like the thrill or whatever. They're pretty much effectively, they're like, we needed Spartans in space. And that's what they are. And the only thing that could stop them is a more badass. So enter Revan and Malik, Revan being just a tactical genius, and then Malik being there. I don't even remember what he did, to be honest. I feel like it was all Revan because Revan just planned that shit. Like he would plan the encounters. He'd be okay with losing men. I remember those sort of stories and all that stuff. So it was like, okay, cool. So that's how they showed that he was more of a badass than the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Whatnot, which is neat. And his resolve not only affected his opponents, but also his allies to follow him anywhere. And it created like that influence and all that stuff. So, I mean, it ties in. It works out. It explains a lot of things. There's no real loose ends on it. So going back to the Mandalorians themselves, you needed a real strong villain.
That's true.
Worked out.
I wonder if we're ever going to see, like, that seems like the way to go if you're going to do like a new trilogy or something. Because especially with the popularity of The Mandalorian, like they got to explore that more. I'm assuming that eventually Disney's going to tackle that. So, probably. Let's talk about the plot a little bit. We're just going to talk about the beginning of it. The game opens up with the player's character. The player can choose a face and make a male or female. Canonically, it's male. Awakening aboard a Republic ship, the Endar Spire, which is under attack by Malik's forces over the city world of Terrace. Yeah, I'm kind of just like your tutorial. You get escape here, get on the escape pod. You meet Karth.
God, he is just so annoying at the beginning. I fucking talk about an emotional wreck. Like, the voice actor does a good job of him making him annoying, because like the way he stutters and he talks really fast over himself, I'm like, I have no confidence in you. Like, at all. You're on my team by default, but I have no confidence in you. Like, I took him off my team a couple of times too. The only reason why he remained on my team is because he hit the hardest when I gave him 2 blasters. This guy would knock it out of the park. But man, if Mission could actually hit a target 2 feet in front of her, you'd be out. You would be out. God.
How do you make your main character?
So initially, I made a dexterity build the first time I ever played. Fucking sucked, because that's no damage. I just can block really well, and I can avoid attacks really well. Woo. Yeah, the last boss was very hard. Why do you ask? The second time I made a warrior. I don't remember if I beat the game that time. I think I did. Very easy. And then I did it this time, and I made a
sorcerer kind of spell
force specific user. And God, all the fights initially sucked. You get to the middle and everything's okay, and then when you start to get to, because I did the order of how you do the planets, I did Korriban last, and everyone was resisting my shit, and I was not happy because I had 20 points into like wisdom.
Well, this is like classic games where you can't pull your points back.
Yeah,
it's just like which I prefer. I actually like that because it makes you like really think about how you want to make your character, and you can't, and it makes your next play like a lot of fun if you're going to do a second playthrough.
Yeah,
because you couldn't explore this, so you just got to see it through to the end.
I hated it because I was like, this sucks. These guys are resisting everything. My force lightning isn't working as good as it should. Like, oh man, no one's getting knocked over when I force push them. Like, come on the ground.
It's like, I pushed you.
But and then by the end, the last boss was actually not that bad. It's a little bit difficult, but you learn to work with what you got. Eventually, Stasis finally decided to work for fucking once, and then we're off to the races at that point. Let me steal your resource from you because I'd force drain.
Oh, you were gray, right?
I tried to do gray. Gray is harder to do in this game than it is in yellow. I was gray in KOTOR 2, and it's a fucking shit. Crushing everybody, blowing people up, force pushing that dude. Get the fuck off of me. It was great.
As I've gotten old, when I was younger, I used to like making spellcasters. But as I've gotten older and older, I think I just like being a melee monster and leaving and a tank. And just kind of leaving the what do you call it? Leaving the spell casting and buffing and stuff for the side people. So that's how I went through this game, and I actually really enjoyed it. My person is just a warrior, and I go light side. We can talk a little bit about the differences. We'll get to that later, which there are huge differences. We talked about the main character. We can, I guess. Do you have anything to say about Revan? Because there's not really a whole lot. It kind of hides who Revan is.
No, it's Chrono Trigger. It's the same thing.
Gotcha.
It's just like.
Let's talk about Malik. He's really our antagonist throughout this game. What do you think of him as a Sith Lord villain?
So there's good and bad to him. I feel the good parts is I like his look, very Sith Lordy, right? Missing that mandible, right? How does he eat? Can he have ramen? You know, like can he slurp spaghetti?
Questions that never got answered in KOTOR.
Exactly. I'm just trying to. I'm here for him. So there's that, And then you look at some of these other elements, like just like his behavior and stuff like that, really imposing, right? When you encounter him and when you finally got your team together and he shows up, I really like that scene because he just comes out of nowhere, and it's a little bit frightening, right? And especially when he resists all your force attacks, and that's really all you can use against him. So you have to run around in circles and hope stasis works. But outside of that, I don't think he's that strong of a villain. Like he ranks fairly low to me in terms of like historically other Sith Lords or representation, regardless of if it's the extended universe or not. He ranks relatively low. Like he doesn't do too many evil things to me, you know. Like okay. Oh, go ahead.
Well, and I agree with you, and I think it's the right choice though. Like I think that
think like he's a rookie Sith.
What's that?
Like he's a rookie Sith master. He's like, I've never had all this power before.
No, I think he's supposed to be like a Darth Maul. Like I am just a badass, and there's no really other thing to me because of who you are, right? Like if he was like this really enigmatic, like diverse, complicated character, I think it would take away from the big twist. I think it would take away from your choice in the matter. You know what I'm saying?
So I get that, but I'm also like, here's the difference between Darth Maul and Malik. Is Darth Maul to Obi-Wan is not the ultimate evil to him, right? That's Anakin. That's Darth Vader to Obi-Wan, right? Malik is the opposite of Revan. And your hero is only as good as your villain. If Malik isn't really carrying his weight, you know, why that sort of conflict itself doesn't really hold as much weight. In this extent, that's why I prefer KOTOR. I prefer KOTOR 2 for. Okay. The villain is much more complicated, grounded, makes more sense.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and if you haven't played the game KOTOR, which you totally should before playing this because we're going to spoil the fuck out of it, but if you haven't played it, Malik is basically just like generic evil guy from 20 years ago. Including some moments where he goes, ha 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 ha.
Stasis.
Yeah, Stasis.
Force lightning.
Like he is just, he's really not a complicated villain at all. He's just like, let's dominate the galaxy.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I mean, he's got some he's got some moments. Like, he would be Darth Vader from episode 4.
Really?
Basically.
Like, not fleshed out, you mean?
Yeah, like if all you had was episode 4 and you didn't have anything else, you'd be like, oh, he's just like the bad guy. And that's kind of what Malik is. He's with a little bit less tact, because I think Darth Vader had a little more like tact in episode 4. But Malik is pretty much like, I'll just fucking kill everybody. I'll kill you if you're on my team, if you fuck me over. You know, just like generic stuff.
Failed your job. You came back. You're still alive. All right, I'm gonna kill you.
Well, you're dead. All right. We got to the planet. Okay. Bzz. All right. Thank you for joining.
Next.
Yeah. Get my escape pod ready. Okay, it's ready. Okay. Bzz. Thanks. Yeah, he's just a mean guy. And the only other main character I wanted to talk about, because we'll talk about the other ones, but is Bastila. Bastila is our light side Jedi that carries us through has the connection of basically, quote unquote, defeated Revan, and is why Malik is Malik. It's complicated, but Malik destroys the bridge that has Revan and Bastila fighting on it so he can be the master. And through that, Bastila defeated Revan and escaped, and is our connection to that. And she uses battle meditation. So she's really the first, and we're playing Tor, and she's really the first consular. Like, that's kind of her thing.
Her gift, yeah.
What's your thoughts on Bastila?
When you initially meet her, she's very, and sort of throughout the story, she's just very stubborn and very childish, I've thought. I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're such a kid. But I always flirt with her because I'm just like,
She's noticeably prettier than most of the models in the game.
Right. It's like we got to put an extra 2 weeks on this one. But yeah, no, I think she's designed to be that way, like where she's sort of like stuck up and whatnot. But the other thing too is like with that um, the twist and all that stuff. Like it makes sense why she is that way. Like honestly, it feels like she's on pins and needles until she either reciprocates your feelings or the point in the story when she's no longer on your party. Like she's on pins and needles with you the whole time. And whether you're trying to resolve her issues with her family, whether you're at the Jedi Enclave, or whatever the case is, anytime you make jokes, she's like, let's be serious. And you're like, oh, God. Or anytime you're like, hey, Bastille, you look great today. Jedi can't love,
Jedi can't love.
It's like, bro, relax. Like
That's awesome.
that sort of stuff. And this isn't to take a jab here, but I kind of feel like the best character work was Mass Effect 2 and Dragon Age. I don't think they hit their stride yet. So like a lot of the characters, even in KOTOR 2, I kind of didn't care for all the characters in KOTOR, in both of them, because there's definitely some misses. But like in Bastila, there's parts where I just didn't really like. We ain't vibing. I should break up with her. Like that's right. When we go to Korriban, I'll break up with her, and then you get intercepted instead. It's like, oh well, fuck. I guess we are broken. But yeah, I don't know. What's your take?
Yeah, I'm the same with you. I think they went a little overboard of making her really irritable. It's like she's like, you can come to this place and you're gonna be a Jedi. And it's like, well, I don't want to be one if you are. Like, you're terrible.
I'm gonna use my blaster still.
Yeah. No, I she's all right. I think when I was younger and I played it, I liked it. She's pretty and you can kind of follow her along like a little puppy. But in general, she's pretty abrasive, which I guess, like you said, it makes sense considering her connection to you. And it's like her not wanting to push that, over the line. So that makes sense, I guess. Not my favorite character, though. Not in my party.
Yeah, well, I didn't really have her. Well, no, actually, I did have her in my party because I just sped her ass and then just let her flurry all the time. And then she cuts everything up, so it works out great. But I could just imagine if she has sexual relations and then the Jedi that assigned her the task. What the fuck? What the fuck? Of all the people, could have been any Padawan, but it's this guy. Yeah, but the Force, our connection. Yeah, I get it.
So the game starts out with you using the jet or the escape pod, and you crash land on Terrace, which is our first and biggest planet. And this is where you learn how the game operates. You get quests, go from one to the other. You get side quests, you get little shops, you get all this stuff. What is your thoughts on Terrace?
Hate it.
You don't like Terrace?
I don't like Terrace. Because it's too long. And it follows just an obvious path to me. And I've done Terrace many times. So I've done Terrace many times. I've done Telos many times, which is on the second one.
Yeah.
I just hate how long the first planets are. With Terrace, it's like, okay, so you land. All right, now you got to go underground. Okay, once you go underground, and I'm cutting out a lot of shit. Mission, you got to save freaking Wookiee. Wookiee saved. All right, let's get the fuck out of here. Ragul, virus. Got to vaccinate people. COVID vaccine, whatever. What you go up, get in the Sith base. I think for some shit, and then the pod racing thing. Okay, now you say Vassila. Okay, now we go to this other place with Calo, whatever his name is, and then you have to
Nord, right? Calo Nord.
Calo Nord, and then all right, you're his guest, but you're imprisoned. All right, we break out. Okay. And then you fight your way over there. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to be there for a minute. And then, all right, now we fly away. Like, I was like, fuck this, man. Just get me out this fucking planet. Like, quick, fast, and early. I hated that shit, dude. It was so boring.
I'm exactly the opposite. I love how complex this planet is, and just exploring it it's really funny because I was obsessed with finishing all the side quests in this planet. Like I wanted to get through everything, be as strong as I possibly could, knowing what was coming up. Just be like fucking ripped. And then, literally, as soon as I got off and went to the other planets, they're like, "We got a side quest." I said, "Fuck off! I'm not doing your shit."
Can you help my mother?
Yeah,
Fuck you.
fuck you. But no, I loved the story. I loved the rat ghoul stuff. It's so diverse because you have the poor people, you have the rich people. You're kind of bouncing around between them and doing favors for whoever you can. I love the fighting thing, like the fight pit, which we'll get into. I think that might have been a cut content from a different planet. We can get into that though. There's a lot to like there. I thought it's disappointing that you don't care for it. Why do you think they made it so long? And obviously they make that one long, and then Telos, like you said, long. Why do you think they're making these first worlds so long?
Well, Telos, have you gotten off Telos yet?
On KOTOR 2, I don't remember anything about that game. I couldn't tell you.
Telos is definitely, I believe, longer than Terrace.
Oh, wow.
But at least there's a bit of a change of scenery. At the very least, there's 2 changes of scenery. So thank fuck. But when it comes to Terrace, I think the issue is like they're trying to introduce you to everything that you could do in the game, which is fine, right? You're going to have 3 characters on your team. There's a lot of mines here. Rock ghouls have poison. Some enemies can inflict status effects on you. Even the opening area when you leave after you get, you and Karth recoup and you guys first leave the apartment that you're at, and you can either interfere, like 2 or 3 times you can interfere, or you could choose not to. That sort of helps you to get an idea that your actions have consequences, kind of a thing. And I get it, but I think they do that as a very long tutorial, and I hate that. Just speed it up for me. Just say less, show more.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, it does set up like pretty much all of the story there too. So it's got why you're going to the other planets later. Just looking for those. What do they call them again?
The Starforge maps.
Starforge maps. Yeah. You're doing that. Well, no. Actually, that's the next planet that sets that up. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's Dantooine. But
get to the Enclave
Yeah. Basically, you're becoming a Jedi. And it's like they kind of they set it up there, and then you rescue Bastila, and you're the leader of the free world, I guess. I don't know. But then it gets completely destroyed, which is pretty awesome.
It's like, oh shit.
Well, there's something cool that Malik does, I guess. Destroys a planet, like Darth Vader did.
Yeah, I want to be like Darth Vader.
Oh, he's just Rey Skywalker. Or Rey. Yeah, Rey Skywalker. Rey Solo. I don't know what his name is.
Oh, God. Let's not talk about it.
All right. So you get off of Terrace, and this part was probably my favorite part of the game back in the day, because this is the part that every kid wants to do. It's becoming a Jedi.
Build your lightsaber.
Oh, my God. I think they handle all this so well. What do you think about Dantooine?
They gave you a training montage, and I was laughing the whole time because I forgot that. It's like, now he can levitate multiple objects. It's like, oh god. Oh god. I can't wait till I play as the Exile. That's all I can remember. I can't wait for KOTOR 2. I'll be the Exile. I won't have to deal with this. But I mean, so the Dantooine stuff is interesting because there's a lot of subtext.
Yeah.
With what's going on and what they're telling you. I think quest-wise, I hate some of the quests there because I just feel like I'm in Beverly Hills because I'm arguing these two families.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, all right, he says this. Do you have their kid? Like that shit. And then like, oh, you have to solve a murder mystery. And they're like, it was you all along. And I was just like, God, Vince McMahon, you're at it again. But yeah, it was overall it's okay. But I think when you're first starting out on your first time going through it, it's really cool. The beginning part is not what I like about this game. If that's any indication,
Oh.
my favorite part is getting off of Dantooine.
Oh,
That's my
wow.
favorite part at the beginning. Yeah, once
I
I leave it.
I loved it there. I like that murder mystery was like one of my favorite quests in the entire game. Is you trying to figure them out because it taught you that you're supposed to like there's right and wrong, right? You're kind of taught that in Terrace, and then like there's right choices and not wrong. Wrong is a bad word, but there's consequences, like you said. There's consequences for your actions, regardless of which one you pick. So you need to understand that. This one took it a step further and said, like, by the way, your role as a Jedi is to get to the right answer. It's like it's telling you that there is a right way for the Jedi.
Mhm.
You don't have to do it, but there is a right way to be a Jedi. Now, if one were so inclined, they could take the path to the dark side.
Were you inclined?
I was not, but I have been inclined before. Yeah, and you can do whatever you want, but it's. I just love that they put that extra layer on it. That you're also, by the way, a Jedi Knight, and you're supposed to be fighting for the good of everybody. And it's like, oh yeah, I am, huh? Maybe I won't though. You can make your decisions based on that.
Well, I mean, let's just do a quick fast forward. When you're on Manon, does that same thing apply when you're in that court case? No, you pick a side. And it's the Republic side if you're a good guy. And you get light side points for picking the Republic. Even though there's a murder that took place. And someone is guilty of murder. But okay. I get what you're saying. I just go like, keep that same energy, dog.
Hey,
for the whole.
This is we're going to talk about this, but this is really early on in gaming history for this to happen. This might be the first console game that ever really pushed this.
Fable. Was Fable out before then? You know what they were trying to do. That was their
yes,
shit.
yes. Well, let's look into Fable real quick.
Yeah.
Fable release date.
I don't even think we even mentioned that. That's an Xbox mainstay.
September 14th, 2004.
They were first then.
So
okay, so Kotor, I'll give you that. You're first, all right.
And I say console because I think some of this stuff you could argue Baldur's Gate and their previous iterations on games on PC probably had a lot of this in it. But to console gamers, this was really new. This kind of wasn't really a thing that people saw. Like that in RPGs prior, there's moments where you can make a selection. Persona games or there's little ones in Final Fantasy, Chrono Cross, whatever little games that we played, whatever that you can make like a diverging choice. It doesn't really affect the end of the game at all. Usually, very very rare that anything major would happen. In this game, not only can things affect the end of the game, they can affect what happens in the next 5 minutes, like completely changing things. You can lose party members. You can get kicked off a planet, which we'll get into later. Like, entire parts of the story can just become inaccessible or change entirely based on the choices you make, which at this stage of the game, or at this stage of gaming, hadn't really happened on consoles. No. And this was pretty mind-blowing. Were you like, was this your first time experiencing a game like that when you played this? Or you played the second one, but regardless, this style of game.
Well, so Neverwinter Nights had some sort of gray area decision making in there too. Mm-hmm. Although I didn't care too much for it, because I was like, fuck it. So I mean, I was aware that certain games did that, and weirdly enough, like that used to be a turnoff for me because I'd be like, let me just get to the action. Especially Dantooine, the first time I went through it. Yeah, I was like, who do I have to kill? Like a real Sith, Yeah. But who needs death? And then as I was sort of going through it, the first time I think I got the wrong guy because I just wasn't paying attention. Mm-hmm. It was him. Are you sure, Jedi? Yeah. Like, all right. It was not him. It was blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, fuck, shit. And he's like, I knew all along. I was just testing you. I was like, well, fuck you, dude. I just remember leaving. And then when I played it again, I was like, oh, shit. Let me pay attention. When I was older. I just remember being like, I don't know. I didn't get the same takeaway that you did. I took it as the game's just throwing a curveball at me. It didn't resonate with me. Maybe that's because I'd already been on Manon before once, and I was just like, don't I like save a murderer or something? So I don't know.
That's crazy. Okay. Well, eventually you do become a Jedi. To me, that's.
Also, Dantooine in KOTOR 2 is way better than Dantooine in KOTOR 1. Oh, so there's that too.
I can't wait for that. You do find the star map thing, and you're traveling around trying to find the location of what will become what is it called again? The big bad Starforge, yeah, the Starforge. So that's kind of the impetus to travel throughout the galaxy and try to find these different planets. So at this point, I do want to ask you, before we talk about traveling to the other planets, are you noticing the difference, and what's your take on the light side versus dark side mechanic in this game?
I don't think it's done as well in this game because it's like obvious dark side shit. Like, let me kill those kids, you know? You got some dark side points. And then it's like, oh, let me feed those kids. Yeah. Got some light side points. It's not really too obvious. It's like take money, be a dick, that kind of stuff or whatever. But there was not influence in the game. So influence is in KOTOR 2. So people can leave your party if your influence with them is too low. And if I remember correctly, and if they can just be like, you know what, fuck you, eat a dick. If you're with Mandalore and a certain Sith person on your team in KOTOR 2, if you're just being too nice, they're like, why am I here? You should be killing people and whatnot. So that wasn't there. So your only real consequence was like light side or dark side. And it was like pretty obvious to me which one was a light side move, which one was a dark side move. I don't know. I feel like later the following iteration does it better. It's much better than the Old Republic, where you just like sometimes you don't even know if you're doing the light side thing, and sometimes it's way obvious. It's just
in the Old Republic, it's just like there's a big indicator that tells you which one's the right one. You just pick that.
Yeah. You can turn on the indicator to be like, oh, well, I just want to be good guy. I want to be good guy and do good things. You know.
Well, yeah, in this game, you know, when I was playing it as a kid, I think it connected with me more because I didn't understand subtlety at all. And so it was just like, you can either give the man 50 gold or 50 credits, or you can stab him in the face. And it was like, which is the right side to do? And I was like, well, I'm playing dark side, so I'm going to fuck him up. And some of it was so cringy. Yeah. It's like, you could tell that kid to go and die or something. It's like, well, oh God. And I guess I back then I was like, oh, cool. Like, there's a game that finally lets me do this crazy shit. And then, you know, as you get older, you're just like, well, that's kind of dumb. Like, it's like, it's really a lot more interesting when you don't know what the right answer is, and you kind of have to think about the repercussions later and really kind of piece together what the right one would be. So yeah, I agree. I think it's gotten better in just gaming in general. Like The Witcher 3 is to me like the pinnacle of right versus wrong, quote unquote, of like, you don't really know, and it's very gray, and you just kind of got to piece it together like what you would do. And so I like that a lot more, whereas in this one it's really black and white. But I understand why they had to do it. I mean, it's the first one. Gamers aren't really used to subtlety on that aspect because they're not used to the concept at all. So
or choice.
yeah. What? Like, we're not used to you giving me a choice. Like, I can not kill the guy. Why would I ever do that? So, I would recommend that you play it light side if you're new to playing this game, because you'll get the game as it was seemingly what they intended for you to do. and then play Darkside right after, and realize that you're basically breaking the game because it's essentially cheating. It was a lot easier in Darkside, I'll say that. All right, we were traveling to the other planets. We can do this in either order, but I wanted to talk about the other planets and the side characters. So I guess let's start out with the other planets, and maybe just we'll intersperse the characters within because you kind of pick them up as you go. But what's your favorite planet? What's your least favorite planet?
Dantooine.
Oh.
Or terrorists. But it's not a planet anymore.
Yeah, I mean it is, right?
Oh, that's right. The terrorist restoration. Okay. Yeah. I would say my favorite planet is Korriban. Because there's a lot of moving parts. Especially if you go to Korriban when you did. It's the best time of the year.
Hunting season.
Yeah. You could definitely punk some people out. And you definitely sound like a madman, which they're all for. Yeah. But my least favorite planet is probably Manon, because there's not too much conflict there. It's not a good place to level up. For sure, it's not a good place to level up. It takes freaking forever, and you find yourself going back if you do it out of order. So if you go to Manon and then you go to Kashyyyk and then you go back to Manon, then there's another story for you because it's tied to Jolie. But if you go to Kashyyyk and then Manon, everything flows better, but you're not going to know that the first time. So it's sort of like that. And then Kashyyyk has its own sort of issues too. But favorite planet is definitely Korriban. So
I agree. Korriban is my favorite because it's got that like competitive nature to it, which is like, to an explanation of it, it's the Sith capital, or it's not the capital, but the Sith training grounds.
Capital of evil.
Yeah, so you're pretending to be a Sith. Or maybe you're not, but you're generally pretending to be a Sith so you can infiltrate and get, view that star map. I like the competitive nature of it, and I like like you said, the layers that come in if you are legitimately a bad guy. Like if you're going down the dark path, it's really interesting. It's like a new perspective on playing that whole mission, because you are the student that it is meant for, and it's serving you well. Whereas if you're on the light side, you're going along with it, and you're like trying to stop people, and you're walking a really thin line when you're doing that, and it's really an interesting perspective. Whereas Manon had really cool music, which was nice.
The visual's nice,
and it looked really pretty, but there's nothing going on there. Minus a couple moments, but it had the going underwater part,
which is boring.
Oof.
Very boring.
You're underwater with that the big suit, and your only weapon is to shoot sharks with this little like
sonic
noise,
emitter,
like a sonic emitter, and it's like bzz, and the shark just falls. I get what they were going for. It's a really clever side quest that showcases the great storytelling that they're doing, where you can either poison all the sharks or you can fix the problem, which is a lot harder. I like that concept, but man, putting it into gameplay and having you walk around really slowly was just death. I don't like that at all.
You walk like you got something stuck up your ass. Like the whole time you're just like.
Tatooine and Kashyyyk were a little bit forgettable.
Tatooine's quick, if you think about it.
Oh my god. It was my first planet, and holy shit, it was so hard to get through. I thought I was overpowered, and turns out the exact opposite was true. I would literally walk around the desert, and sand people would attack me, and I would barely scrape by. And I'd be like, all right, well, I got to go back and heal up. And
then another ambush.
Yeah.
And then you're like, fuck, another cutscene. It's like you're playing like your traditional RPG.
Yeah.
That sucks.
That one was tough. But once I got through that, I was overpowered. And the rest of the game was substantially easier. I think it was also my party makeup was not good. What is your party throughout all this?
So I went to, for the sake of where I went to Kashyyyk first. I had stasis, so it was really easy to kill just about everyone there because they're weak to force powers. Even the monster that's supposed to be strong against force powers, I was able to stasis him. And the objective was to free up my Wookiee buddy, whose name escapes me.
Zalbar.
Zanzibar. So I had him on my team. Pretty much 9 times out of 10, he was on my team because he had like fucking 300 health or 400 health when I was done with the game.
Oh my god!
He was just a tank. He's a brick shithouse, and he could take hits, and he hit really hard. So I was like, "We're gonna up that power attack, buddy. More to strength, more to constitution. That's it." And he fucking hit really hard. But I would have him on my team, and then I had Karth for a while on my team, but he just started pissing me off. So there was times when I just had Canderous on my team because he also was very tough, very hard to kill. I effectively had a melee tank, a ranged tank, and then I was doing all the Jedi abilities because I could stasis everybody most of the time. I could stasis everybody. If I really need to kill people, I had Destroy Droid, which everyone should get.
Oh my god, it's indispensable.
And then I had Drain Life, and then I had something else. Towards the end, I got Force Speed, just so I can run away from the last boss. And that's more or less how I would get around. So I'd Force Speed them. Zanzibar, whatever his name is, would just destroy everybody, and then Canderous would pick up the slack. And it works pretty good for most of the game. But I would also have Jolie as a backup sometimes. So I would just have, like when I was doing the quest in Kashyyyk, I had Jolie and Canderous. That's because you can't have what's his name on your team. He's stuck upstairs with his family. So you have to go find his dad and do that whole storyline, whatever. But what about you?
Mine was Zalbar as my tank, like you, and Jolie as my healer / robot destroyer.
He's so good.
I was destroying that game once I got that combo going. I think I went into Tatooine with, I think it was Karth and what's her face?
Jocelyn?
No.
Oh, the other girl. Cat girl?
What's her? No.
Mission. I only used her at the beginning. I dropped her quick.
I wanted her because of her security. Because of her intelligence.
Might as well bring the droid.
Actually, no, it was the droid. It was the droid and Mission are the two that I went with.
Oh, God.
Because together we could pretty much break into anything and do anything with robots.
Yeah.
The problem was their damage was shit. They were terrible at anything combat related. And I assumed that they would be fine if they could just shoot and I could tank and melee. But they couldn't hit anything. They were terrible, both of them. And I had to do a group huddle, and I was like, we need to rethink this.
You're in.
So once we got to the next planet, I think it was Kashyyyk is when I switched over to Zalbar and Jolie, and everything was smooth sailing from there. Range just seems to suck in this game. I would ditch them.
That and you should apparently the common trope is 1 lightsaber on KOTOR 1, 2 lightsabers on KOTOR 2. Because if you're going damage dealer for KOTOR 2, do 2 lightsabers, maximize that so you're not offset and you're gonna do crazy damage.
Good to know. That's my plan.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Like I'm just cutting everything. Great.
Nice. All right, let's talk about the big twist.
So you're Revan.
Yeah,
I guess it's the best way to put it. So big twist comes about where effectively you are. So when you explore all planets but one, Malik intercepts you, and then he brings your ship on board. You guys get captured. You know, your typical thing. You have to elect someone to break you out. You're broken out, and then you play as that guy until you get your main cast back. And I think you can still choose some of your team. I think at that point, unless you're forced to use Basil and Karth. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have to use them. But either way,
I think you have to use Basil and
think,
Karth because I remember not wanting to use either.
yeah, well, I remember that's when I realized she's actually not that bad with force speed.
No, yeah, she's pretty good.
Yeah, and then just flurry. But
Karth is still fucking useless.
Karth hits hard for me. Karth was hitting hard from how I built him, but I couldn't count on him. That's all he did.
Yeah.
So Canderous at the very least could make me freaking stimulants. You know, Karth doesn't do shit for you. He's just whining, complaining. What about my son? You know,
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, fuck that. So anyway, so you get intercepted. There's a couple of times where you're fighting Darth Malak. There's a couple of times where Basila is. Effectively, you have to leave her behind. She tells you to leave her behind, and then you go off. During that time, however, I think that's when it gets revealed to you, and you're just like, what? This doesn't make sense. And then you're like, we got to get off, and you're freaking out, and you're like, oh, we got to get off this planet, or we got to get off this ship. We got to get back to our ship. You fly, and then during that time, you're talking to everyone, and you're like, yeah, by the way, I'm Darth Revan. And some of these guys are fucking gung-ho, like Canderous. What? Bro, I'm your fan. And then you have some people like Karth, who's just makes it about him, which is why I hate it. So it's just like, oh, I trusted you. It's like, bro, I didn't make you kill people.
Yeah, stupid. Like, I don't like Karth at all.
Yeah, he's a whiner. He's in the second one, by the way.
I like Jolie.
Jolie's like, hey, I knew all along.
I knew the whole time. It's up to you to figure that out. like she didn't. You could give me a heads up, even just a little bit.
I feel like he'd be like my wise old uncle from the South or something like that. Listen, young blood, do what you want there, all right? And then he'll just spit out these random like analogies for things, like a clock's right, a broken clock is right twice a day. You know. Yeah. Oh man,
like, yeah. Should I go out with this girl? Like, she doesn't seem right for me. Well, you know, sometimes you want mustard, you got to lick the jar. Thanks a lot.
I'll see you later, young blood. Yeah,
Jolie's freaking awesome. I love Jolie.
And then your Wookiee friend doesn't really care either. Thank God for that. Jolie doesn't care. Who else doesn't care? Mission doesn't care. Right?
I never spoke to Mission after I dumped her. I said, get the fuck out of my party and get out of my life.
Did you get her off your team?
No.
You can get her. Oh, I was like, wait, what?
But I never. The only time I spoke to her again was I needed her to wrap up something in Tatooine. Mm-hmm. That was it.
I got rid of. I wanted to get rid of that other Jedi. What's her name?
I don't know her name, but yeah, the one that is like turning to the dark side. She's like a cat person. Yeah.
And she, man, I swear, like, she just makes me want to do dark side and just be like, let's kill everyone on the ship, you know, because she's the way she is like, your story of coming back to the light has inspired me to stay on the light. And I was like, I wish I was evil. I wish I was a bad influence. I wish we could have just murdered everybody.
Yeah.
But
have you ever heard about killing younglings?
Put you onto some shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was whatever. I think overall, the person that pissed me off the most was Karth. Yeah. And that's why I was like, you're not on my team for the rest of this fucking adventure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like. And then Karth, Mission, that Jedi were like bench warmers for life. I even used the droid. Like, come on. I used the droid in Manon. because when you do the Sith base, I was like, I gotta unlock a lot of shit. So
You're like this next mission requires strong blaster skills and piloting skills, and Karth is just like, hey, and you're just like scanning through all your people. Like, I'll take the droid. We'll wing it. We'll wing the piloting segment. Yeah. Julie, you've been on Kashyyyk, not dealing with technology for the last 20 years.
Know how to fly a plane.
You know I don't.
You know I don't. No, he'll be like, well, I know what I know, and I know what I don't. All right, let's go.
Let's give you a shot. Man, what a great twist, though. I can't think of many games that have really given me a good twist like this one. Because you really, I know you're spoiled. I did not see it coming. Really? Maybe I was young and naive or something, but I totally did not see this coming.
It's a good problem to have. I think it's a testament to the game that I was still spoiled and still liked it, and still thought it made sense, because those are the best. So I've been told this: the concept of a puzzle is the best puzzle. And a twist can be a puzzle. Is the best kind of puzzle is a puzzle where all the information is made available to you. Putting it together is what falls short. So in the twist format, it's cool that everything matches up, and you don't have to go back and go like, that's a weird line, or that's a weird one-off thing right there that they said right there. That doesn't make sense. Everything makes sense. Everything's within context. Joe Lee, it makes sense that Joe Lee would know because he's out. He's a Jedi that's outside of the loop, but has been around for a minute. So of course he knows who Revan is. And it's just like, I don't really care about life right now. Like I've been on this fucking planet. I'll go on this adventure with you. Get the blood pumping, I guess. Among other things, I want to see how it plays out. Karth doesn't make sense because if he's he's the only guy, in my opinion, that doesn't make sense. If he's part of the Republic fleet or he's a pilot and he has no idea even sort of how Revan looks, like he was only gone for 1 year before he came back with the mask, but allegedly. You go to KOTOR 2 and you look at the comics and they talk about Revan as if he had the mask on the whole time. But I was like, didn't he have the mask when he became a Sith, or did he have it on before then?
Seems like a real Sith thing to have a mask on.
I know, right? Yeah. Same thing with Malik. It's like, with Malik with that fucking jaw, that's just grounds for some Sith shit. And apparently that was Revan that did that. So, that's some pretty Sith shit.
Yeah, it's not totally clear on that. And yeah, I would agree. The Karth thing was weird. Like, how did you not see it? Because it just seems like he would... A seasoned veteran would kind of know who Hitler is.
Oh, Saul. Saul tells him, right? Doesn't Saul? When you kill Saul, he tells Karth. Yeah. So that's how it all happens. Okay. And then, like he's just, I'll believe this dying man's words. I mean, granted, he's got nothing else, but still. It's a dying man's words. It's probably the truest form of what he's going to say, but he's just like, no, it can't be. We got to get out of here. Okay. Let's get the fuck
That's the
out.
best impression of Karth I think I've ever heard.
Dude, he's just a million miles a minute. Like, calm down. Slow up. But yeah, good twist. It felt great. It felt organic. And it changed up your dialogue, which is cool.
Oh my god, the planet I went to right after this was fucking Korriban. And there was the last planet to go to, and it was Korriban, and they're like, it's gonna be 1,500 or 150 credits to park here. And my first dialogue option, did you know I'm Revan?
Did you select that option?
Yes. They're like, you're so funny.
Did you know? Oh my gosh.
What a joke.
That's funny. Yeah, that and like further on down the line, they're like, what's the Sith code? And you're like, I'm Revan. like what the fuck?
Done.
Like he's gonna believe you. Oh, you're right. I'll let you pass. That's just hilarious to me.
Well, the game sort of closes up after this. You have to go to one last planet. Do you remember the name of the planet? I don't remember it.
I don't either, and it's sort of forgettable, but it's like
You have 2 tribes.
it's the most bullshit to go through, though.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird little tribulations you got to go through. I kind of liked the idea though that now that you know that you're Revan, you're like, okay, so I've been here, and they're all telling me that I've been here, and I'm like a figure, and you're sort of piecing together what you did, just so you can get back up into that. The
How
tower.
evil do I have to be to make them realize?
Yeah. Really kind of a cleverly written part, although the gameplay itself is kind of boring here. It's just more of, I guess, more of the same. But you're at this point, you're most likely about level 20, or you're really close to it. And I think I finally hit level 20 within the temple itself. Because again, I started saying fuck you to all the side quests. But like, you're kind of like ready to be done with this. I mean, the major twist happened. You got to go. Basilisk theoretically turned, or she's been kidnapped, and you're just like, let's get this over with. And they're like, no, stay here with these little weird aliens, and they're figure out their little problems. You're like, no. What's the quickest way out of here? So, fast forward. You say Basilisk. I don't like going to story details. I think that's redundant in a thing like this. But you have choices with Basilisk, dark side or light side. Again, great that you get that option. You go to the Star Forge. This was where I had the biggest problem in this game. And this might be PC only, because I don't remember having this big of an issue with it. But there's a loop here where there's infinite enemies that pop out. And my team members could not stop turning around to go fight them. They were like obsessed with fighting everybody.
Yeah.
And I basically just had to glitch the game to get through this. I let them fight. It was my Wookiee friend, and it was Albar and Jolie, and I let him heal. And I literally just ran ahead and let them tank everything, and started hitting the little turret so I could open that door. And I just fought every turret, and at one point they died. And I had all the little Sith guys shooting at me, and I was like, I don't care. And I'm just like attacking the turrets, like whatever, doing block, getting through it. My team died, and then because nobody was fighting them, they rezzed next to me. And then I just walked up the elevator. Like the whole area was glitched to me. So I was really frustrated. Did you have any problems with the glitches in this game?
I did not with glitches. Actually, no. I did have a few glitches. Sequences like where certain people just wouldn't talk to me when I needed to complete a quest, and I thought I broke the game. I remember where was it specifically? It was leading to the Starforge map in Tatooine. They tell you like, oh, you have to get the meat to bring out the crate dragon. With the bomb and all that stuff, and the meat wasn't working.
Oh no!
And I was just like, "You better fucking not! You better not!" Because I don't even remember the last time I'd saved at the time, and I was pissed. So I left and I came back, and it worked. But there's a couple of sequences like that here and there. I kept dying in Manan. I guess I was saying the wrong things after they catch you out of the Sith depot or whatever. You could say the wrong thing and get killed, and I died more than once. So like, whoops. But I agree with you on the infinite enemies part, because I was like, seriously, guys, what the fuck? Like, I would stasis them. And the thing is like, they were coming so fast, I wasn't getting my force powers back. My force points back, so I would stasis them, and then I would drain, and they're dead. And I'm like, cool. Or I'd force lightning, and then they're dead. I'm like, all right, cool, let's keep going. And then like seconds later, from the front and the back, and I'm just like, the fuck, man? And then, and just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I eventually would run out of force powers, and I was just like, all right, dude, I have to manually fight these people. And I'm the first to die, because I've got no fucking... I've got like 8 strength. And they just bam, then I'm out. So I couldn't even defend myself, and I had like 0 constitution. So I got smoked. But that also put into perspective for me. Don't be a force user on this version. Always be a guardian.
I will say if you do it as a dark side, it's not that bad. At least on the original.
Force lightning,
maybe
not having the
PC,
penalty.
yeah, and maybe PC is where it fucks up. Maybe that's the big. Where did you play this one on?
I was on PC.
You played on
First
PC?
time I ever played it, I was on Xbox.
Yeah. Maybe on Xbox this glitch just didn't happen or something. Where it was just much easier to run from these fights or to get through this, because I don't remember having this issue.
I had a hard time all the time. I always dreaded this part. So like there's two things I prepped for the whole game. This fight and then the last fight.
Okay.
But I didn't remember it being this relentless, because I was just like, oh, you take maybe like you get to the next area and there's another set of enemies. But no, not only was everyone maxed out and leveled up to 20, but so there's no point in fighting.
Right.
But they just kept coming, and I was like, why am I getting attacked from the front and the back? I don't remember that.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
It was rough. And then, just taking a few steps, and then every fucking time. As strong as what's his name was, and I was the only healer. I had Candace and I had what's his name. Mm-hmm. So I was the only guy doing anything. I was the only guy doing anything. It's fucking cat.
Get that cat out.
Anyway, I was the only guy doing anything healing wise, and I was just like, "Fuck, man, this sucks." And then,
fucking thing sucks.
Yeah, I mean, if I had more than one force user, I would have had a harder time. So,
well, you kind of alluded to it. How was your fight with Malik, the big bad?
Harder than I thought it was going to be. So for perspective, Malik has all these other Jedi or force sensitive people posted up, right? They're force sensitive. They have to be. And he pretty much drains their life if you beat too much of his health. So you could take the resource from him by using drain life yourself, which I did after force or night speeding through the place.
Yeah.
I was just like, give me that. And then when he doesn't have a resource, it's like, all right, how do I kill him now? I remember trying to stasis him multiple times, and then he would just whittle down my health, and I'd have to book it. I could resist a lot of his attacks, so thank God. His force attacks, but his physical attacks would tear me apart. I beat him with bombs.
Real? Whoa. Jeez.
I had a plethora of grenades. The very few times that stasis worked, I hit him with the cryoband, froze him in place, and then I had a shit ton of plasma grenades, and I just kept blowing him up. And then I repeated the process. Because he gets stuck in cryoband if he's stasis first, because then he's not going to move. And then all I did was plasma. I'm the shittiest Jedi.
No, I'm the same, dude. I did like my strength build, and I could hit him, and I had some HP as well, but like I don't have force drain, so like he's like gonna go drain somebody, and I'm like, all right, I'll just chill here and I guess try to med pack my way back to health.
I know.
So every time he would run off, I'd be like, okay, stabbing myself in the leg like 50 times, just trying to get back.
Scar tissue that you're cutting through, just to stab yourself again.
And I had that, and then the like stim packs. I never use those. And then in that fight, I'm like, well, we got to use something, so I'll use stim packs.
Support packs, everything.
Yeah, and so I'm like buffed up, like freaking steroided out, and let's go, bitch. And then we just started fighting.
Oh, you mean the stimulants?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you said stim packs. I was thinking like healing.
Oh, yeah.
Those stimulants. Yeah, I don't use those either, because I'm just like, I don't know which one's the best for the build that I have half the time. So
no, me neither. So I just found one that I said like makes you hit more or something.
Like hyper battle stimulant or something like that.
You're
yeah.
I'm like, this looks like it might help me.
Right. Yeah.
And eventually I got through it. I found the right rhythm for it. Ironically, this is so funny. Ironically, I realized that like sometimes when I'm fighting him, he'll do a lot more damage, and sometimes he won't. Like sometimes he'll do electricity more. If he did electricity, I was fucked. If he did like physical attacks, I was good. So it's kind of the reverse of yours. And I found that sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. So the last time I fought him, don't think less of me. I save scummed through it.
Oh no!
But the ironic part was, every time I save scummed, it was actually the right thing, and I'd gotten it to a science where I think I got the right amount of med packs and was able to run away. So actually, I never had to use the save scumming, but I totally did save scum at the end. Just each fight that was like, oh, that one worked out pretty well. I guess I'll save on that, and then did it. But the last fight, I must have learned the mechanic right to get the timing or something. But yeah, it was a hard fight, very difficult.
He's a rough guy, tough cookie.
On the dark side, it's way easier. It's just pure like a race to use those bodies as fast as you can.
Right. Oh, well, I want these first. Shit.
Get out of the way.
I was like, what the fuck, man?
Cool.
Messed up my room.
Well, and then if you're on the light side, the player kills or redeems Bastila, defeats Malik, and destroys the Starforge, and is hailed as a savior and hero. On the dark side route, the player allies with Bastila, overthrows and kills Malik, takes control of the Starforge for themselves, and reclaims their title as Dark Lord of the Sith. I think
we all know what happens.
Canon is the light side route, right?
Yeah, and you don't kill Bastila. You bang her.
You bang her.
And then you have another kid. And then you have another kid, and that's Satil. Shit. And that's where we are. The Old Republic. Let's keep going.
Let's talk about some of the cut content. There's a planet called Slaheyron. It had... it was supposed to be where it was like a gladiatorial planet. That would have been interesting. I think that might have been where that extra terrorist stuff came from. Maybe.
Yeah, I didn't... it's hard to do that terrorist fight when you're a Force user.
I bet. The early game on that is very hard if you're not...
It's very rough.
Yeah.
Which is why I was in a hurry to get off, because I didn't want to level up without having the ability to gain Force powers.
That makes so much sense.
I left there, I think you leave there at level 7 or something like that. Or
I got to level 8. Barely.
Okay, yeah,
I
left
think 7.
Left there earlier than that, yeah. And I was just like, no, I didn't do a lot of side quests. I sped through a lot of shit. Like the mission to help the guys in Terrace to find their promised land. I was like, no, thank you. I gotta go. I'm destined for greatness.
I'm fucking revving. I don't know it yet, but
yeah. Something tells me.
On Tatooine, the star map was originally supposed to be located in the maw of a Sarlacc pit, and the character had to find a way to reach it without being eaten. Another was the character could become a messiah figure to the Sand People and would lead them against Circa Corporation. There was also cut content relative to the planet Terrace. Can you believe they actually cut stuff out of that? Cut mostly due to pacing issues rather than time constraints. Initially, there was supposed to be another level to the Volcar base containing a spice lab, staff housing, and the base's heating control system.
No.
The Gamorrean slavers were to have a base in the Undercity, and there was going to be a trash compactor puzzle sequence in the sewers below. Additionally, there were 2 confirmed sequences cut from the game. One takes place on Manon if the player beats Bendak Starkiller in the dueling ring on Terrace. Deadeye Duncan shows up in the docking area, telling how he escaped the destruction of Terrace, and asks if he can use the name Mysterious Stranger. The second takes place on Korriban. Bastila was originally intended to be allowed to accompany Revan to the Academy. If Revan provoked LeShao during their first meeting, Bastila would have interjected. So, not a lot of cut content, and honestly, that just seems like side shit. It doesn't seem totally necessary. Although I like the idea of the Sarlacc pit on Tatooine.
Oh, that's fan service.
Yeah, it might have been a little too on the nose, but interesting at least. This one we just killed a crate dragon.
Who cares? With mines and explosives, it was fucking easy. Fucking easy.
All right. What do you think of the... I only have 2 more things about this game. What do you think of the legacy of KOTOR?
I mean, obviously, it's garnered a lot of praise and accolades with its interpretation of Star Wars combined with the RPG elements. I'd say it's probably the best example of a complete story, because KOTOR 2 is incomplete, unfortunately. of a complete story with decent mechanics, with a decent game, uh, with decent gameplay and all that stuff in it. I don't think it's. I still think there are games that do it better, as far as to a more cohesive story, better character motivations, better drawn out characters. Dragon Age comes to mind. But I appreciate what they did, and for its time, it was obviously a very powerful, um, very uh, impactful game on my childhood, on how I felt about what defined my taste in gaming. If I didn't play KOTOR, I would have never played Dragon Age. If I didn't play KOTOR, I would have never played Neverwinter Nights again. Anything with D&D, I would have been very confused on. It's just been like, fuck it. So it's definitely beneficial. Or our Pillars of Eternity. I would have never played Pillars of Eternity. And I feel like that's just a sad future I don't want to live in. Why didn't play good games? So
you're really good at Halo.
I know, I'd be the best. I'd be the Halo. Be the best Halo. But that's just legacy with me. Legacy overall, obviously, we know that there's talk of a remake, which is very highly anticipated. Which, man, if you bump up that engine, if you do a little bit better with maybe the combat, just a little better.
Well, they've talked about they're going with an action game.
Oh, they have?
At least that's what the rumors that I've heard are.
Maybe they'll probably do some Inquisition sort of style, where it's an in between of it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I'd be okay if they stuck with the old system, personally. I would just say make it more akin to KOTOR 2, less about KOTOR 1, and you're on to something. Keep the D&D inspired mechanics. But, I mean, people want that. People want a sequel. And honestly, as of right now, like, there hasn't been a Star Wars RPG. Fallen Order, we don't count. It's not really an RPG. There hasn't been a Star Wars RPG really since then. So, yeah, I'm gung-ho for it. I think there should be one. I think for as big as they make their world or their universe, the fact that you don't have an RPG in this long of a gap is a problem. And stop doing cut content, all right? Just put as much shit as possible in it.
I think the legacy is like in one word, choices. This game brought that to the consoles that had never been done before, and I think nowadays you can't even make an RPG, or especially a Western RPG, without there being choices. So I think that's just freaking huge, the impact it had there. Gameplay, oof, this game does not age well. A lot of weird bugs. Janky. It can easily be described as janky.
The animations.
Yeah, just a lot of little things like that. So I don't think it aged particularly well. I actually think with the remake, I know they're not going to do this, but I wish they would make it more in the style of Obsidian's game, Pillars of Eternity. Make it more isometric. Give me that look. I would be totally down with that. I think that engine is really cool, and I like that style. I'd be down with that. I know they're not going to do that, but I think part of the appeal with KOTOR was that it was like a halfway point between a Star Wars action game and a CRPG. Yeah. So they could almost trick people into thinking it was like an action Star Wars game. And I got a lot of people in that probably didn't want to play like a D&D kind of game. So good on them. They kind of fooled you, and once you really play it. I talked to people today, and I'm like what's some of the best turn-based RPGs? And it's like Knights of the Old Republic is what I say. And they're like, oh, that's an action game. Like, people still think that of it as an action game, weirdly enough.
Because the turns are quick enough, yeah.
But it's totally... It really makes you wonder what like the definition of an action game is versus a turn-based game. Like, it kind of blurs that line. So I could see it being a little confusing. But to me, it's definitely not an action game.
Yeah, I'd say the difference to me just feels like more of an input, more of a expectation on your input versus your choice. Mm-hmm. KOTOR is more about the choice, and action RPGs typically, like Jade Empire, is more about the input.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Just
Well, and
yeah,
to me, it's like queues, like lists, like queues when you queue an attack versus do an attack. And
yeah,
this one, it's queued, whether you think it is or not. It's definitely
yeah.
queued.
It's still on a,
Yeah.
it's a metronome. It's a
Mm-hmm.
dance at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Any final thoughts on KOTOR after playing it in
don't mess up
2021?
the
What's
remake.
that?
Don't mess up the remake. Don't fucking mess up the remake. Modernize it. Maybe don't give me the exact same story. I know this is very off topic, but I still concede the best remake of all time is for any game is Final Fantasy VII remake, because they took a pre-existing IP and they go, well, we're going to switch a bunch of shit on. And I
Hmm.
think if KOTOR did that, like keep the basis of it alive.
I thought you were gonna say Resident Evil 2.
No, I like Resident Evil 2. I would say 1 quicker than I'd say 2, because Crimson Heads, Lisa Trevor, all that stuff is like really cool
Mm-hmm.
because it's just you're not even thinking about it. But no, I mean it would have been Resident Evil 1, and then Final Fantasy VII remake came out, and I'm like, dude, they're doing a lot of stuff different, and they're making these characters feel better, feel more alive.
Yeah.
I would say the same thing with KOTOR. I don't need certain characters in the game. I don't need mission. I really don't need mission. I don't need that other Jedi whose name escapes me. That's how Juhani, yeah, that's how worthless she is. Give me a different Jedi that has a better story rather than I fell to the dark side for a little bit.
Yeah.
You beat me up and now I'm on your team. Fuck that. Keep Jolie. In fact, make Jolie come on your team sooner.
Yeah.
Give him more lines. Make him just the comedic relief of the entire story. And
That's weird because he wasn't really a comedic character.
But he was funny.
But he was funny, like just naturally hilarious.
Like I feel like I would have a relative that's like him. It's just like, tired of your bullshit all the time.
It's such a weird thing. I said to him with dialogue options, I was like, one of the options was, there's a bunch of little monsters on my ship. Do you know what to do with it? And he's like, what the hell are you bothering me about that ship for? It's like, that's the perfect answer to that question.
You live here too. You live in the infirmary, right? Where is that? It's like, what the fuck? You sleep on this shit all the time. What if we're injured?
Yeah.
But yeah, keep Jolie in it. Make him come sooner. I don't know. Redo the story a little bit.
Can you recommend this game to new players?
I think there's a niche to recommend it to. I think I can recommend it to gamers who love Star Wars, who are open-minded. Hey, I've played an RPG or two.
Mm-hmm.
I would not recommend this to. I play COD, bro.
No.
Give me your. I hate to say COD. That's so old. I play Fortnite, bro. but seriously though, I couldn't recommend it to someone that their stimulus is expected to be immediate.
Yeah,
you're not going to get that with this game, and it's not a bad thing. It's not like everything's delayed. It's just more of like it just comes in a different,
package.
Different package.
I would have a hard time recommending it just because the gameplay is kind of buggy.
Yeah.
I would say if you're a fan of Star Wars, you'll like this game.
Did you play with the patch? Like where they put in some of the content, the cut content?
No, not on this one.
Yeah,
I'm going to do that for KOTOR 2.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what it's called.
But anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, outside of that, no, I mean, it's definitely something that you want to consider who you're recommending it to. I would say get someone who likes RPGs in general, or who maybe plays D&D, because they're going to be able to understand it.
Yeah, but if they're into D&D, I think there's better. I mean, they'd have to be into D&D and into Star Wars, and then I would recommend this one. If not, I would play like Pillars of Eternity or something. Like that'll just suit you better.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But overall, still fun experience. It does not age well as the first, or as well as KOTOR 2. Mm-hmm. KOTOR 2 ages better because it's faster. It's a little bit faster. Things feel better. The combat feels better, and the story is, I don't know, I guess a little more open-ended. It's not your traditional story. It doesn't follow. KOTOR 1 follows like the original series storyline, right? Hero's journey kind of thing. KOTOR 2 is more about the consequences of the actions of Revan and how they affect other people. So,
well, I can't wait to do it. That's going to be next up for us.
That'll be a blast.
Thank you so much for joining me on Knights of the Old Republic, man.
No problem. Happy to help. I'll be there for KOTOR 2.
All right. Consider KOTOR archived. Thanks for watching, everybody.
That's all I got.